Lever harps, part 1. How many strings? So when we're looking at choosing a lever harp, the number of strings could range from a very small little lap harp, maybe even 14 strings, all the way up to, say, 34, 36, or 40 strings. And there are 7 strings in an octave, A through G, so plus 8 strings to get A to A to get an actual octave. So if you divide the number of strings by 7, that gives you the number of octaves. This is 34 strings, so that's almost 5 octaves. This little lap harp has 24 strings, so a little bit more than 3 octaves. And you can see, if I place like all 4 fingers on each hand, I don't have a lot of room to go up and down, right? I'm a little bit, there aren't as many options, right? We get a little bit restricted in terms of what we can play, and especially what keys we can play in as well. Just because, like if we're in the key of C, we have this low C. That's great. But what if we're in the key of, say, G? Do we want this low G? Or maybe we're staying up here a lot, then we're kind of ignoring these bottom 4 notes. So suddenly the harp is essentially much smaller. So there is definitely a minimum number of strings where if you get too few strings, you're really kind of handicapping yourself, and you might find that after even 2 lessons, you're running out of room, right? So 24 strings, that would, I think, kind of be the minimum. There's some nice 26 string harps, harpsicles, Dusty Strings makes a nice 26 string harp. That I think would really kind of be the minimum I would advise. And then we go up to, say, a 34 string harp like this. 34 and 36 are kind of standard harp sizes. And one thing to watch for is, does it have the low C? So that's kind of important, that it's much more useful to be 33 strings and have the low C than 34 strings and they only go down to a D. Just because a lot of pieces are written assuming that this low C will be there. And of course, many pieces are written in the key of C, where, it's nice to be able to play that octave or that low C down there. So 34 strings is great. For me, I got a pedal harp 2 years after I started playing, and this is the harp I started on. And it wasn't the number of strings that I found was restrictive. It was the lever system, which we'll talk about in the next section. And I wanted the access to the pedal system. So yes, it's nice to have more strings sometimes, but 34 strings I think is again the type of harp that might last you your entire life, and will definitely let you fully explore a lot of different music and a lot of different options. 36 strings obviously is great. Generally it'll be a couple extra strings up here. There are some larger harps. Layne and Healy, I know, makes a lovely prelude, which is 40 strings. It's got a few lower notes down on the bottom, which is kind of cool. Extra resonance, extra sound. But it's also kind of more of a specialized instrument. Maybe for somebody who has been playing for a while, knows that they don't want or don't need the pedal system, but wants a bigger harp and more strings and more sound. So again, if you're just starting, depending on circumstances, right? Like maybe there's this great 38 or 40 string harp that falls into your lap, but it's not necessarily necessary to spend extra money. 34 string or 36 string will do you well for several, anywhere from 2 years to the rest of your life. So anyway, hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea. Again, it's possible to have too few strings. It's not possible to have too many, but you don't necessarily need, especially when you're first starting, more strings past, say, 34.